Hello everyone and welcome to this month's 220 Mastermind video. This is Matthew Moybon and we're excited to share this month something really practical that we get asked about from a lot of students, whether it's college students, whether it's young professionals, even high school students now are really asking to get their resume in great shape. So if you have a resume already, that's great. You can bring it, get it up and on your computer while you watch this, and we can go through and hopefully you can take away some tips to make it even better. If you don't have a resume, if you don't have anything, or if you want to take that existing resume and put it into a better template, we actually have a downloadable template that you can use and follow along in the video to create your resume, because what we're actually going to do is create one from scratch. And I think it'll be a really great way for you guys to see that this task that a lot of times seems really overwhelming is actually very manageable, especially when we give you some of these tips, hints, and even this great template to get you started. So what you're going to do, and if you haven't already downloaded it from the email, you can go to the 220 Mastermind page, and right here in April, you can see this button down here for download resume tools. The video will be here soon, obviously, but I'm recording it right now, so I can't put it there yet. So if you click download resume tools, it'll take you to this great packet, and this is for you guys. It's something that's normally paid. You have to pay to see, but because you're part of the mastermind, you guys get to see it and use it and keep it for as long as you want, and hopefully it'll be helpful. This was actually intended to be for college students, so this is something that you could potentially use for a really long time if you want to. So it's a great guide. It includes screenshots and different explanations for each of the different sections in a resume. And we're actually going to use this to help us go through and create our resume today, but just wanted you to scroll through and see. And what you're actually going to do to get the template is scroll down all the way to this pinkish red page, and you can click either one of the links. We have different templates for underclassmen and upperclassmen, but so you'll see it here. And then what you want to do is click download. You guys are probably already know this. And then you're going to open up your resume template. And there you go. So because most of the people on this are in high school, and what they've done in school is going to be more relevant than what they've done for work, we're going to just delete this senior/junior template. And we'll just start with, there we go, the sophomore freshman template, okay? And then what we'll do is let's go back, and I actually want to start by not going to number 1, but I want to go through a few of our general tips that we have in the PDF. So, and speaking of PDF, the first thing that you should always do is when you're sending your resume to someone, unless they're going to edit it for you or provide comments, never send it as a Word document or anything else, because number 1, it can always get distorted depending on the size of the screen, how it shows up. It'll jump lines, it's ugly. And number 2, if you're going from a Mac to Windows or from another system to another system, there's no guarantee that it's going to show up in the same size or the same font. So it's always safe to do it as a PDF, which basically stays the same no matter which system you're on. So PDFs are definitely the professional way to share documents. Number 2, name your document something relevant. A lot of people will forget to either save their document as something unique, or they'll save it as something really generic like resume. And guess what? If you put resume, there's going to be a ton of other people that do that. Don't be one of those people, because if for some reason they need to search and find your resume on a computer, resume is not going to be the way that they find it. So do something like your name, and even like something like the date. So that's what we'll do for ours. Spring 2017, not spring. Boom. That way you can always find it, especially as your resume versions change, which definitely will happen. You can find them, and then your employers can also find them. Number 3, formatting over everything. So this is why the template that we provide is so valuable, because recruiters can't read through your entire resume. They just can't. Especially as you move up and start interviewing for those higher paying jobs, there's going to be a lot more candidates, and recruiters can only spend so long reading these documents. So if they look and see that there's something sloppy about your resume, if the spacing is inconsistent, if it falls onto 2 pages, if some is aligned left and some's aligned right, or anything else you can think of, there's a good chance that they're going to say, well, this person isn't organized enough, or this person didn't care enough to fix their resume and put it in a good spot before they send it to me, so I'm not even going to look at it. And you wouldn't believe it, but that actually happens. It just does. So take care to use our template, or if you're using another template, make sure that it looks really good. Other tips, different ways to stand out. So like we said, recruiters are looking at a ton of resumes all the time, and it just gets really overwhelming. So even if your resume looks really good, if you put all bland stuff on there, if you're just regurgitating responsibilities and not showing anything unique about what you did at that job, or what you helped to improve it, or what you did in a leadership role that was brand new for something in school, or talk about something interesting that you did in one of your classes or projects, then it's going to be hard to stand out. And you may be a great candidate with just an average resume that gets overlooked. So don't be one of those people. This one is pretty basic, but just keep it in mind. Always check your spelling. So spell check should help a ton, but I would still go through and read it at least a couple times before you send it over. And honestly, the best way to do it is to read it out loud to make sure it makes sense, because spell check won't always catch those things that are spelled right but just don't make sense when read aloud. So definitely double check it. If they catch a spelling error, that's one of the quickest ways to get put in the, what we like to call the no chance piles, and there's no chance I'm going to give this person a job. Number 6, I think we're on, and this one is really important, guys. Don't lie on your resume, or I would even add to that, don't embellish on your resume. People do it, but it won't help you get the job. It's going to create confusion, and actually people sniff that out because they look at so many, and if you're just using a lot of words to make it sound like you did a lot, they're going to sniff through that, and it's going to end up actually making it seem like you don't necessarily value being truthful all the time, which is something that most employers value a lot. So we'll show you how you can think about putting really tangible bullets as far as what you've accomplished at that job, what you learned, what you got better at while you were at that job or while you're in that school organization. Okay? So now what we're going to do is go back to the beginning, and I'm going to do a quick job of actually creating this resume from scratch. So once you guys, this is a great way to do it if you want to just follow along and create. The other thing you can do is just watch the video, and you can watch it again as many times as you want. But what you can do is just use this packet to go through as you're filling it out to double check that you're doing it right. So what I'm going to do is kind of use this to go through and create our template. So number 1, contact info. Why is contact info important? Well, they need to be able to get a hold of you if they want to bring you in for an interview, tell you that you got an offer, or even tell you maybe that you didn't get an offer, which you'll want to know also, even though it's not as great a news. But it's really important to get your contact info correct and not do some of the basic things that I think really just kind of make it seem like you don't know what you're doing. So let's get started. So your name, pretty basic, right? What I always recommend is don't just feel like you have to put your formal name, especially if you don't want people to call you that, because they're going to call you whatever's on your resume. So if you don't like to be called Theodora or Theodore, and your name is actually, the name you like to be called is Ted, then I would put Ted, okay, and then your last name. So I'll put mine. And then your phone number. You want your phone number to be something that you can most likely answer, or if not answer, get back to that employer really quickly, because they want to see that you're excited about the job. You don't have to pick up if you're in the middle of class or if you're in the middle of an important meeting, but do try to get back to those employers as quickly as you can. So you want to put in most likely your cell phone number. If you don't have a cell phone number, put in your home number or something else that you're going to be able to get to right away. And no, that is not my phone number. I just made that up. And then what you want to do here is put an email address that is your personal email address, so that it doesn't go to another employer's address. And one thing that is really important that a lot of people mess up, don't put your Gmail or your personal email down if it's got a bad name like sexygirl25@gmail.com or pimpdaddy24@yahoo.com. That is a really bad first impression. That's one of the first things they read. Just do something simple like your name. So if you need to create a new email address because that is not appropriate, then you need to do that. Okay, and then you can obviously shrink the font size if it runs over or something like that. So next, GPA is right there, but I want to talk quickly about this. Like we said, this is a college resume template, but it works really well for high school. We just need to make a few changes to it, okay? So what we'll do is instead of university name, we'll put our high school. There we go, Indianapolis, Indiana. Graduation date. Don't laugh at me here, okay? This was my actual high school and graduation date. And then one thing you'll see right here that I'm doing, we really like how this looks, is to right align everything, right? So what you can do is to make sure everything, you can see if you go all the way down this page, everything that's right aligned goes all the way to the margin. And the way that you do that is you just click over, okay? Name of degree, this is obviously more for college, but I think it shows that you pay attention and you care about your school if you can name the degree that you got. And you can find that out by normally looking on your high school or platform, or looking at, you can ask a counselor if you don't know. So let's just call this Core 40 Diploma. GPA, and that's the next thing in the packet. So quickly, I'm just going to put, I think my high school one was this. Yes, I was a little bit of a nerd, but I'm proud of it, so I'm not too worried about it. So GPA. There's a lot of questions about should I include my GPA. So GPA should always be included unless you're more than 1 year out of school applying for your second job, or your GPA is below a 3.0. And employers are still likely to ask, so unfortunately, they're going to find out most likely either way, because that's a huge determinant for them of how you can organize yourself and how you can perform tasks in a timely manner and how effectively you can do that. Even though school may not always seem like the most fun thing, it is a huge indicator for people that are hiring you as far as, can I trust this person to not only get stuff done on time, but to do it really well. So just a reminder that school does matter, so study hard. Okay? So now, you don't have a major, right? So don't worry about that. But what you could do here is, if you take some unique classes, like AP classes, so you could put like AP Chemistry, like Advanced Art student, if there's different tracks or something that makes you stand out here, since it's one of the first things that the employer is going to see, it could be a good thing. And then here we have this section for things like study abroad, or unique scholarships that you got, or other cool academic things that you got recognized for, like top 30, or stuff that, like, for example, that we were in this Spanish immersion program where we learned Spanish all the time. So I'm going to put that here. So that's just something else that you can put there, especially since it's the first section, to show that you're not just doing the bare minimum in school. Okay? So diving right into this leadership and activities section, one thing I want to go over first is each of these little headers, because this is one of the spots where formatting is really important, because it really does catch your eye if something's off or not consistent. So we can go to the packet, and it's number 5. So this goes for company headers or for your organization headers in your leadership and activity section. So you want to make sure all company names and related position titles are left aligned, right? So they are right there, all left aligned. See, all the way, no spaces. Then you want to make sure that all of your dates are right aligned to the end of the line. You may have to use your manual space and delete and tab as you've seen me do as you type in there, but just make sure right before you finish or save it as a PDF and send it that everything is left or right aligned as it's supposed to be. And then also another thing to keep in mind is make sure this spacing in between like your bullets and this italics where your position name is and all of the spacing everywhere between headers and everything is consistent. All right, so another thing on formatting because it really is important. All right, now let's dive into getting some actual bullets on the page, right? That's where some of the meat is and one of the hardest parts to create. So we're going to start by putting our first organization name, and this is not actually where I worked, but this is where Joseph worked, and actually our younger brother Jordan worked too. Puccini's Pizza in Indianapolis. Absolutely freaking delicious pizza. All right, so here, over here, you're going to put your date. So say May 2016 to an end date. Let's say you don't work there anymore to January 2018. Okay, so nice long stint there. So because there's an end date, because you don't work there anymore, all of your verbs that you're going to use in the bullets below, and we'll go over this more, are going to be in past tense. So you're not going to say I contribute, you're going to say I contributed, right? Or I improved, not I improve or I am improving, okay? Whereas if you still worked here, you would put present up here and right align that, and all of your verbs would be in present tense. So you would say I contribute to the monthly increase in sales, or I ran the sales division of the company, or whatever. Okay, so we're going to assume for this that it's in the past. So position name is going to be something like, for this, I think they were called, let's just call them Pizza Boys for fun. But you should use your official title here, title here, depending on what it was. And then we want to go into accomplishment. So accomplishment number 1 means it should be the most impressive thing on your resume. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking, oh, here I should just tell them what my responsibilities were. That's something that you should avoid as much as you possibly can. And that's actually a section in here that we talk about. There's a general bullet section that helps you think about how to frame your bullets and create those. Companies and schools or whoever you're sending this to, they want to know that you can help them. They look at so many resumes, so for you to just regurgitate responsibilities of working in a restaurant or working at a golf course or wherever it is going to be boring, and it's not going to really show them anything except that you did enough not to get fired, right? So what you want to do is show that you did something unique, or that you were totally committed by never missing a day, or something that really makes you stand out again. Portray the value that you would provide to them by showing the value you provided to that former company or organization. Okay, so for example here, instead of just saying responsible for cooking pizzas, preparing salads, and dealing with customers, I'm going to put something like, and I don't know if Joseph actually did this, but let's just say that he did so you can get an idea for the example. Created the brand new Terminator pizza, which resulted in 10% increase in sales and was the top selling pizza for July 2017. So you see how that is way more unique and very cool and shows that you add value. A lot of people think that somewhere on their resume they need to have these adjectives like organized and diligent and hard worker. No, if you call yourself a hard worker, is that really that strong, right? I mean, I either believe you or I don't, and I probably don't think that much of it, because if you're telling me it's not nearly as impressive as if someone else is telling me, or if you can demonstrate it through an interesting bullet that shows something cool that you actually did. So most people would think that, again, you have to say something like responsible for taking out trash. No, that's not interesting at all, right? We want to show as many accomplishments as we can that are unique. If you have to put your responsibilities, make sure they're responsibilities that actually show some sort of skill, whether it's managing other employees or doing something that is brand new or starting a new initiative. Otherwise, I would leave them off. And people, again, feel like they have to embellish their resumes and lie and add stuff that doesn't need to be on there. That only makes it worse. The less that's more powerful and more unique, the better. Okay, so we want to create as many bullets like this as we can. And like I said, you may not have some Terminator pizza that you can point to that's incredibly unique with these cool stats, right? But this is what we want to shoot for. If you don't have something like this, we talk about this in the bullet section, that the more numbers that you can use or quantifiable, meaningful accomplishments, the better, right? So if you can't say, I created this pizza that increased 10% in sales, you may be able to say, I had demonstrated a 100% like on time attendance at work or participation at work, which included, like weekend days, several out of town trips, and blank. Do you see the difference here? Instead of just trying to say, well, this is what I did at my job, this is what anyone would do if they had that job. So what we want to do is distinguish it. So if you can come up with numbers, things like attendance, like you said, 100%, or things like, anything that you did that's unique, like I added a new process that, or I helped hire, let's say I helped hire 2 new people, or I helped train, or I trained and not I helped 3 new people to help with or new employees. I trained 3 new employees is good enough. And just to talk about what you train them for. So we're trying to show that we didn't just go through the motions at our job. I'm spending a lot of time on this because these bullets fall in every single section, whether it's your work or whether it is your organizations in school. Okay? So you can put that second accomplishment in there. We're trained 10 new employees on our values, etc. So you guys will know that better than me. I'm just trying to get that started for you, okay? And you can obviously delete that blue thing. That's just to make sure you know that that's the underclassmen template. So before we move on from this, I want to point out a couple of mistakes that I made. Hopefully you've been paying attention. Number 1, I did not spell unknown correctly, and that was probably bothering a lot of you, especially since the red squiggly line was right there. I did not see it. Make sure you check it. Use spell check to your advantage, and also, like we said, read through it before you save it and send it to somebody. The other thing is leadership and activities should not include my work experience. So as much as I talked about that, that went in the wrong section. So we're going to move that down. All right, anybody else notice that? You probably did. So that's okay now. We're in the right section. So that's going to go in my professional experience. And because we're not in the professional world per se yet, most of the time we're just doing our work for our first couple jobs. It's maybe better to call it work experience, but it's up to you. All right. Last things on these bullets before we move on. And I will do 1 leadership and activities, and then we'll go to these last 2 sections. So on these bullets, the other thing that's really important are 2 things. Try to keep each bullet to no more than 2 lines. If it goes on for a long time, there's run-on sentences, or you're just listing off a bunch of stuff, the bullet becomes less powerful, and it's harder for employers to read or know what that bullet actually means. So try to keep it to no more than 2 lines. It doesn't have to be long to be powerful, guys, okay? Remember that. The other thing that we want to remember is how we start our bullets, and it's actually this first part. We want to start each bullet with an action verb. Okay, and what that means is something that demonstrates action, right? So not passive, like was responsible for would be a bad example. But a good example would be words like created, which here we go, created the brand new Terminator pizza, demonstrated, led, trained, activated, initiated, consulted, promoted, marketed, branded, educated. Things like those words that show that you were active and actually did something start the bullet off in a really powerful way. So that's one of the final checks that I always do. And when I'm reviewing resumes, even for college or young professionals, I look to make sure that every bullet starts with an action verb. And that's not always taught, but I think it's actually really important. So just keep that in mind. Like we said, if we were still working here and this said present, make sure these verb tenses line up, right? So it'd be create and not created. And demonstrate, right? But we're saying we did work there in the past. So these principles for the bullets you should use for every single line item on your resume. So for the organizations and for the company names, the bullets should all have these principles in it, and that's in number 6 in your packet. So action verbs, show your worth, don't just regurgitate your responsibilities. Use numbers when you can, it makes it stand out more. Try to keep each bullet to no more than 2 lines. And there's one on tailoring there, but that's a little bit more advanced, and we can cover that later. If you guys have questions about tailoring that for a specific audience, well, you can let us know through the comments, and we can respond to you and help you with that. Okay? So we've got one work experience. I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me fill out all this, the entire resume, especially since we're running a little over on time. So I want to show one organization name, and we'll actually fill out a couple just so you can see what they would look like. So for example, this is a really cool section because this is the chance for you to show your personality, right? So work experience is maybe just your job. There may be some cool companies that you worked for, a company you started that shows something really cool, but if you just worked at a pizza place, yeah, maybe you really like pizza, or maybe it was just something close to your house, but leadership and activity shows what you're actually involved in and what you actually care about. So this could be at school, so something like for me, it was Principals Advisory Council, so like the leadership group for the principal. So this was, and it may be good if you got things that aren't all for your school to put the school name there too. Lawrence North Principals Advisory Council. Now my date's all messed up, no big deal. I'm just going to back it up. So I'll put the date, May 2007 to May 2008. Make sure it's right aligned. And I was the director of School Spirit Committee because I wanted to get people to the games and really excited in the crowd, doing unified chants and stuff. That was just my thing for basketball because I wasn't playing basketball anymore, but I was still playing football and golf. So those are another thing I'm going to put on there. So for me, it was varsity football, and then I would create another one for varsity golf. Make sure my dates are aligned. All right, and then here on these bullets is, again, we're going to use the same principles. So same things we had in bullet 6 or section 6 in this packet. You want to use an action verb, so something like started, brand new initiative, and obviously my spell check is helping me out, to increase basketball ticket sales that involved digital promotions like school contests, and put something else, which resulted in 5 sold out games. See, there, you can do that right there. Instead of just saying, I met once a month with the Principal's Advisory Council to go over this and help the principal with this. It's actually something really cool that was not there before or that I had an impact on, right? So we want to do that every time. So for football, let's say we could say something like, led the team as captain and most valuable player to a .987 win percentage if you had a good record, or if you did something unique, like, or I caught, let's say, like the most passes in a season, something like that, or if you guys had the best record you've had in a long time, or something like that. And this would apply for, like we said, sports, for leadership opportunities at the school, for community organizations or philanthropies that you're involved in, or if you regularly volunteer. This is a great place to put that. So just make sure your formatting is the same. You can put a position. So if, for me it was tight end and linebacker. If you are volunteering for something, you could just put, this is where you'd put something like volunteer. And that's it, guys. So now you pretty much know how to create the meat of your resume. Yes, it does take some time. It isn't always the most fun thing because it does take a while, but once you complete the whole thing, it's actually really cool to see all of your accomplishments laid out and the fact that you created a resume from scratch. Especially you do that the first couple times. It's really cool to see all that laid out, and hopefully you're excited to hand this to a potential employer or to a school that you're trying to get into. So we have only 2 sections to go. There's an additional section that we made room for. You don't have to use this one, but this again could be a unique way for you to stand out. So this was actually where we put, since we used our resumes, we didn't actually make a resume in high school, which I wish we would have, but since we were doing it in college, our education section was all about what we did in college, so we put the Spanish immersion program down here and described it as, which it was recognized as one of the best Spanish, as one of the best Spanish immersion program in the world. So we put that down there. But if you've done something cool like travel abroad, or if you've done a cool project outside of school, or done an entrepreneurship contest, or done something really unique that's worth standing out, that may not fit perfectly in leadership activities or work experience, or that's just worth putting in its own section, this is a great place to do that. So if you've been on a mission trip, or if you've been a part of an organization since you were 5 years old, or if you were doing anything that's worth noting that doesn't necessarily fit in another section, this is a great place to put that. And you can fill out one bullet about it, and again, use that same structure that we talked about to construct that bullet. So for me, I would have put Indianapolis, Indiana. Start date was from kindergarten, so back for me in 1995, all the way to 2008 when I graduated high school. Okay, and you can put the month dates in there too, so it would have been something like August 1995 to May 2008. Okay. And again, that just goes back to the fact that you're not just trying to check the box and complete this resume, right? Like most interviewers, this is their first, or people that are going to see whether they want to hire you or not, or accept you into their school. This is their first impression of you, so you want to try to stand out and show that you'd be a great addition to their school or to their company. Okay? And then here's the last section, okay? And it's one that is highly underestimated, and it's some people actually have it and don't do a really good job, or some people miss out on it altogether. So we think it's really important to have this section because it's one more opportunity to show that you're not just some robot going through school and doing some activities just because you're supposed to. This is a chance for you to really demonstrate your personality and what your interests are. So for example, if you are really interested in music, don't put music, even though I just did it, okay? That is bland, generic, gets back to the point where it's like, okay, why do I even need to know that? But if you put something like, you guys, I don't know if you know who Madonna is, if you guys are too young to know that, but you can put humongous Beyonce fan or something like, you know, been to like 110 Beyonce concerts or something crazy that actually stands out. And the reason that we do this is because if it's something unique and cool, the interviewer may want to ask you about it. And that's a really good thing, because if they ask you about one of your interests, there's a chance that they can really connect with you, not just about these interview questions that they ask everyone, but it is something that actually creates a relationship with the interviewer, which most people that interview struggle to do, which is why they dread interviews so much, and why usually it's just question, answer, leave. I don't know if I got the job or not. I was sweating. I was really nervous, okay? This is a really cool chance for you to show that you have a personality, which most employers and schools want, and like we said, to really connect with people in a relationship. So some other examples that you could do, like if you love pancakes, you could put pancake connoisseur. I always struggle spelling that. Pancake connoisseur. Okay, so you know, like your pancakes, or something like you know, if you love like extreme sports, like you do snowboarding and like ride bikes and all that, you could do extreme sports athlete. If you have like a favorite team that you love, you know, you can put like obsess Hoosier basketball fan, which I am. And actually tonight I have to do a shout out. We just got Romeo Langford for next year, which is pretty exciting. So what you want to do is get this to one line. Almost. All right, there. So as you can see, that section adds a lot of color to your resume, and it may seem like something that's kind of, is that right to put on a resume? It really is, because like we said, for all the reasons we said, it shows that you have a personality, that you're interested in stuff, that you can actually get committed and passionate and excited about stuff, and you can connect with those people that you're interviewing with. All right? So hopefully you wouldn't send this to your employer because it's not done. But the formatting, you can see how it works. You can see how we start to think about those bullets, and you can see how we make sure the formatting stays consistent and how it stays organized. Just want to make sure there's not anything else that I wanted to cover. I think we got through all of the big ones. So there's a how-to on how to use the guide. Once you're done with your resume and you've reviewed it and it's good, we do the file save, right? And then file save as. And what do we save it as? That's right, PDF. Anytime we send it to anyone, we want it to be in a PDF format. Make sure it's saved with your name spelled correctly, with the date. And that's about it, guys. Thanks for sticking with me. I think this is going to be something really valuable for you to reference for a while. This won't be the only resume you'll ever create. You'll probably have to create multiple. But now you have some knowledge and skills that a lot of people never have. And it's something that Joseph and I have acquired through going through the business school at Indiana University and being in a great fraternity that really focused on this stuff, and then working and helping people, like we said, ranging from high school all the way up through their 30s and 40s, get their resume to a great place. So this is really advanced stuff that we're really excited to share with you guys as part of the mastermind. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. If you have an interview coming up, or if you have some submission that you need for school or anything like that, because you're part of the mastermind, feel free to send us over your resume. If you do it by the end of May, and we'll be happy to take a look at that for you and provide comments. Otherwise, appreciate you guys sticking with us. Dream big, never settle, live 220.